Hello everybody and welcome to Mr. Bullard School for Former Ladies, a game currently in development by Quills. Link on the Twitter to their Twitter below. I ran across this game on itch.io, as I run across a lot of games that I cover on itch.io. It's a really great place to find a lot of hidden gems that may be out there. This game is currently in development. No tentative release date, but they're still working on it, and it'll probably be released sometime this year, hopefully. So there's no music on the title screen, that's why it's so quiet. You hear a pin drop, I swear. So let's start, shall we? I know you are here. It's nowhere near me, yet I can hear it in my thoughts. The heavy thumps upon cobblestone fill both my ears. Its presence hangs over me like a damp, draped cloth. It's not real as far as I can tell, but it's always there in my head, awaiting the moment I shut my eyes. Turn the music down just a tad, it's a little loud. And then comes the humming. It's a lullaby, meant to soothe young children into peaceful sleep. My mother's humming fills my ears with a familiar tune, the same one she used when she had cradled me tight in her arms. But it's not soothing at all. Such things would only be soothing if my mother was still alive. Oh. The creature paces around me, and the tune moves with it. I cannot move from my spot in the foreign street. The lamplight occasionally reflects a wayward shadow. What is it you want from me? It does not give me a reply. A sharp bump in the road saved me from my torment. The carriage is dark, the curtains on the windows drawn tightly shut. I find myself sitting upright with my hands tangled in them, but luckily, I had not thrown open the door. I disentangled my hands, folded them tightly together in my lap as though that would keep them from moving against my will again. I hadn't meant to sleep, anticipating that something like this would happen if I did. My nausea from the ship was only worsened by looking out the window to the rolling emerald plains of the old continent. And besides, the sunlight was not supposed to be up at this hour. My hair feels heavy and knotted, as is typical after these bouts of dreams. I hope I do not look worse than I feel. As the carriage slows, I risk a look through the curtain. The stately mansion coming into view does nothing to allay my mood. I fear the mansion's inhabitants more than anything. Perhaps it is not too late to request return back? No, that is no longer an option. The nightmares are the only reason I've made this cross-sea voyage to Miss Bullard's haven for supernaturally troubled women, or whatever it is she calls it. They've never stopped. Not since the first evening I woke breathless and in a terrible sweat, thinking it was the damp summer air getting to me. I have them any time I attempt to sleep. During particularly terrible fits, I move in my sleep as if possessed. Dozing off in class once had me nearly stabbing a fellow student with a fountain pen. The nightmares have robbed me of any chance at contentment back home, and I would do anything to find a cure, even if it means going to a boarding school in the old continent. I still shudder as the carriage slows further to a stop. It is time for my grand entrance. It has to be worth it. The rigid clothes, the poor weather, the cruel instructors, the pompous students. It will be terrible, sure, but not as terrible as my nightmares. Right? I do not expect to be greeted with a face full of sunshine when I step down from the carriage with my bags and onto the gravel below. That is a very, very nice house. I see the front door of the mansion is already open. A woman whom I can only assume is the headmistress is already there to greet me. I cast a nervous glance at my garb, which I have been wearing my first day of travel, and still smells faintly of sea salt. Good morning, are you perhaps Miss Graham? That would be me, yes. Her accent is stiff and self-assured, My words feel clumsy in comparison. She smiles warmly. Wonderful! Welcome to my school. I'm Miss Bullard, the headmistress of this establishment, or you may call me Miss B. Your father has been wonderful to work with, and rest assured he is confident that I can provide you with the help you need. Miss B extends a hand to me, and her smile does not waver as we shake. I have not spoken to my father about my attendance here, or much at all. It was something he had worked out on his own when news of my issue reached him, wherever in the world he had been at the time. All I know of him is his penmanship, surprisingly, having not seen or heard him speak in many months. I had only been informed to pack and prepare for the upcoming sea voyage just a week before today. We are a small establishment, so it should be easy to acquaint yourself with the other students. The older and younger ones tend to keep to themselves, but I'm certain those of your age would love to meet you. I hardly believe that, until a girl emerges from right behind her, as though she had been awaiting her cue. She has the brightest smile on her face as she clamps my hands in her own. Meredith Marticelli, it's so wonderful to meet you, Lillian. Oh. I pull back my hands in haste. Her fingers are like ice. Meredith gives a sheepish smile. Oops, I'm sorry. That does tend to startle new people. Oh no, I'm sorry for pulling away so abruptly. Nice to meet you, Meredith. Now that I have been sufficiently woken up, I can see someone is standing just behind her. Winnie, look! The new student I was telling you about is here! Meredith steps aside, revealing a frail and bespectacled girl to me. Her hair is a striking red, like hot coals, and her eyes are more honey than brown. In her arm, she clutches a book tightly to her chest. She blinks wordlessly. I give her what I hope is an encouraging smile. Hello there, my name is Lillian. She does not smile back, but dips her head. Her voice is scarcely a mumble. Winifred, nice to meet you, Lillian. And you have such beautiful hair. That is so gorgeous. Her lips twist into a smile, but she purses them tightly together. Thank you. Come on now, girls. We have to bring Lillian inside. She had a long journey. Oh my, look at this place. It's really brown. Maybe a little too brown. You know, some color wouldn't kill this place. Miss B led the way for me through an already open front door. When I step inside, I catch the gaze of another lady. Her skin is unblemished as the surface of a pearl. She's impeccably dressed, her hairstyle up and pinned with impressive precision. She's also the only student who is wearing a corset. I smile at her, despite her disapproving look. Hello, I'm Lillian, I heard. Oh, and you are? Virginia Belvoir of the Belvoir fortune. I have a feeling that was supposed to mean something to me, but it doesn't. Perhaps she doesn't know I'm a foreigner. I thought at least my accent might give me away. It's nice to meet you, Virginia. I would prefer Miss Belvoir. She sniffs and turns away without another word. Well, I suppose this place would have some uptight members. So there are some girls out here that behave in the way I anticipated. The notion is oddly reassuring. Oh, who's this? Another student leans over to look at us from the railing. In sharp contrast to Virginia, her hair isn't styled in any way. It falls in messy, off-gold tangles at her shoulders. Her clothes are equally wayward, the lace on her sleeves torn and her garment collar partially undone. She does not bother to come down, but waves at me. Miss B gestures to me. Miss Fay, this is our new student. Hello, new student. I'm Greta. Her voice echoes through the hall. And I'm Lillian. I shout the words back, hoping the act isn't offensive. Thankfully, I only receive a disapproving look from Virginia. Even Miss B seems more amused and bothered by our exchange. Welcome to Miss B's. I do hope you enjoy your time here. She gives me a wry grin, and I think I can see her cross her fingers behind her back. Strange girl, that one. Now then, Miss Graham, you must be feeling quite weary from your journey. Allow me to show you where you will be staying. I follow dutifully behind her. We bypass the stairwell towards one of the westward doorways. On this floor, we have the classroom, the dining room, library, and upper student bedrooms, and above we have the remaining bedrooms, balcony, and my study. As you can probably tell, this mansion was not a school but a family home before I purchased it. I had been expecting something a bit more like a traditional school, but even with the furnishings, it's hard to say the mansion is homey. The architecture, while certainly beautiful, is also predominantly foreign. The classroom is through the door to the right of your entrance. The dining room we just passed and the set of bedrooms where you'll be staying are just ahead. Miss B leads me to a hall of doors and opens the one furthest left. Here is where you will be staying during your time here. Is it to your liking? Yes, this is a gorgeous room. The room is much larger than mine at home. The bed looks plenty comfortable, even though beds stopped being comfortable a while ago. It looks nice, thank you. Oh, my pleasure. You can put your luggage down for now, and when you're ready, I can provide you with everything you'll need during your stay here. After setting everything down, Miss B leads me back through the entrance, and this time heads towards the stairwell. My study is the first door on the left. I wait at the top of the stairs, only seeing a glimpse of it when she goes in, but her study is not nearly as neat as I might have expected. Papers are haphazardly stacked in piles and shoved off into corners. Her desk is a menagerie of notebooks, fabric scraps, and fountain pens. She reappears in the doorway. My apologies for the clutter. First, let me ask you something I ask all my students. How much do you know about magic? Well, I know it's something we cannot properly control. That is correct. It is not something we fully understand, even though it surrounds us and is in everything we do. Though few can harness it, it certainly can harness us to its liking. Sometimes it'll even strike us with a terrible affliction. Like an illness, even the smallest amounts can have devastating effects if we become infected. Now, why don't you tell me more about your affliction? Nightmares, correct? Yes, and sleepwalking on occasion. Sometimes the fits can get violent, especially if I feel I ought to defend myself. And all the dreams are the same. They are. They all take place in the same alley, and I'm almost certain I'm being stalked within it. I've never seen the alley before, but I think it may be from a place in my youth, or perhaps a place my mother used to take me. Alright, I understand. I have reason to believe your affliction is of new continent origin. Though I do not exactly know what yet, I have something that will certainly help end the nightmares at least. Let's see. She vanishes back into her study for a moment. I can hear her rummaging around in a desk. For your affliction, the item best suited for you would be this. Upon returning, she stuffs a bundle of aromatic herbs into my hand. This is fresh-cut rosemary grown in old continent soil. Tie it over your bedpost and you will experience no nightmares. It will not cure them, but keep them at bay. And you must change it out when it begins to wilt, as it will lose its potency. Take the bundle gratefully and tuck it away. The idea of uninterrupted sleep sounds near fictional. Miss B catches the relief in my posture when I take it. You must be exhausted from your trip, and please do not worry about attending classes today. You may go straight to your room and unpack your items. Join us for supper at 8 o'clock if you would like. I will. Thank you, Miss B. You have no idea how much a good night's sleep is going to do for me. The pleasure's all mine. I leave to my room with a much lighter chest, the bundle of rosemary clasped tightly in my hand. I sincerely hope she's correct. I choose to attend supper, which is a rather lavish affair. Miss B insists the students I'd met earlier all sit at the same table for my better acquaintance. Virginia chooses the same items as me, although she takes her time and cuts her food into tiny squares before eating. Just across from her, Greta eats voraciously and is met with gentle reminders from Miss B to keep her mouth shut as she chews. You know, it's bad manners to do with your mouth open. Meredith only has a bowl of soup, and Winifred, nothing at all, although she seems to enjoy her company nonetheless. Upon returning to my room, I lock my door, tuck the ends of my sheets under the mattress, and sprinkle salt from supper at the foot of my bed. The odd ritual has never helped much. The nightmares still came, but I like to think it makes them shorter. And while Miss B was kind, I'm not certain how effective a little sprig of vegetation will be. I hang the rosemary over my pillow as the final layer of protection. Sleep comes swiftly. Once I had changed into my nightgown and climbed into bed, I quickly drifted off. It was not thuds upon cobblestone, but the sound of brief knocking that wakes me from my slumber. Lillian? I yawn, rubbing the blurriness from my vision. Yes? Good morning. Sorry to intrude on your rest. Miss B wanted me to come and wake you. Breakfast has already been served and class begins in 15 minutes. Do you know how to get there? I rouse a bit more. I do. Miss B showed me. Thank you. I'll be out soon. It had been the most restful sleep I had ever experienced. My hair was only disheveled by the pillow this time. I changed back into my day clothes and head out into the hallway. I eat breakfast with haste and make my way through the mansion's lower floor to the apparent classroom. Let's see. Miss B said the classroom was through the entrance and to the right, so it should be here. The room was likely meant to be some sort of family living room before its conversion to a classroom. The desks are a bit crammed, and the chalkboard is small. When I enter, everyone has already taken their seats. Today I will be teaching you all grammar for intermediate writing. While this does not pertain to re-entering society, it does make up for the misschooling I'm certain you've all had in your absence. I self-consciously run my fingers through my hair, book clutched tightly to my chest. Miss B stops her lecture when she notices me. Ah, Miss Graham. Perfect timing. I was just about to begin class. Please pick a seat. I skim the few rows of desks for free spots. There is a space by Meredith, who brightens and gives me a smile as warm as sunlight. And now there's near Winifred, who casts her gaze to the hands in her lap the moment our eyes meet. All the desks by Virginia are unoccupied, but I can understand why. The brief glare she shoots me is made of pure ice. There is a spot open besides Greta at the back corner of the class, and I could swear I see her wink when I catch her eye. I really like Winifred, for obvious reasons, for people who played games like this, where I like girls with glasses. Kind of nerdy, bookish girls. I soften my expression as best I can and move to sit by Winifred. Her shoulders tense when I sit beside her, but she does not protest. Hello! Winifred's gaze darts to me for a fleeting moment. Hello? Her voice is awfully subdued. This class seems interesting. Yes. Interesting as grammar can be. I feel almost bad for her. Perhaps she does not want me to be here? I'm sorry. If you like, I can move to another seat. She straightens up immediately. No, here's alright. Her voice falls once more. I do not mind you here. I'm sorry if it seemed that way. I'm not used to being around new students. Oh, I see. It is a more positive response than I had expected, but I know better than to push her. Deciding to let her have my company rather than my words, I turn to a fresh page in my journal and begin to write. After class, I watch as Winnie gathers up her things and leaves with impressive speed. She heads off in the direction of the library. I would not consider it a poor first impression, but Winnie does not exactly seem eager for new friends either. Or perhaps she's most comfortable in places outside the classroom. That's very possible. There is an overwhelming amount to do. If I wish to study the nature of magic and take problem solving in my own hands, well, the library is definitely the best place to start. But perhaps I do not want to dwell on my troubles my entire time here. Besides, a walk in the gardens after such a long day sounds pleasant. Although I do have a bit of an appetite, and the dining room is only steps from my room. Well, a walk would be nice. Let's go outside for a walk. While I had always thought that the old continent had poor weather, Miss B's location seemed to be the consistent exception. I emerged from the front doors of the mansion into the rays of afternoon sunshine. The gardens are large and expertly kept, with trimmed hedges and blooming flowers that must be native to the old continent. Songbirds chitter away in the dense cluster of trees out by the gates. I spot Meredith crouched beside the flower patch with cupped hands. She hears my boots upon the dirt and turns to face me. "Oh, Lillian!" She stands up immediately, dusting stray bits of soil off her skirt with the backs of her hands. Her palms appear to be damp. "Good afternoon. And you?" I peer down at the flower patch. "What were you doing?" Meredith seems to blush. It's a bit harder to tell, because in contrast to Winnie, the pink is duller, but it's certainly there. "Oh, something frivolous. I noticed that some of the daisies had begun to wilt in the warm sun, so I was giving them a drink." "I think that's very kind of you." "Don't want flowers to die. They're very pretty." "People forget that flowers are living things, too." She scratches her cheek. "Oh, it's nothing really, but it makes me happy to know you appreciate it." "I grew up helping raise animals, but I know very little about plants." Meredith glances back at the plants. "Well, Miss B taught me about all the flowers here when I first came to the school. It helped me take my mind off of certain things, and helped me get used to my new life here." She tilts her head at me slightly. "I'm curious, though, as a newcomer, what do you think of Miss B as a teacher?" "Something seems odd. She's very generous, though." I mean, in a world where magic exists, I think she probably would be a little odd, but she's very nice. She's very generous. Miss B has been exceptionally warm and accepting of me, and helpful with my affliction." Meredith nods in agreement. "She truly is. I find her inspiring. She has so much love to give to all of her students. I cannot imagine a better instructor for us." "Truthfully, I expected her to be much stricter. I read as much in the books back home." Her smile wavers and then fades. Much as I hate to admit it, Miss B is quite unique. The instructors I had before the incident were a lot less warm. They have a standard of how they believe old continent women ought to be, and if you don't fit that standard, you are labeled as an outsider, especially if you're not of high social standing. Of course, by being at the school, we are all outsiders, so I suppose conforming to those standards hardly matters anymore. I feel incredibly fortunate to have ended up here, and I sincerely hope that you feel that way soon, too." She looks up to the mansion. "I suppose we ought to head to class. Would you like to walk together?" "I would love to. If you like, I can share a bit of my horticulture knowledge with you." We spend the remainder of the walk discussing flowers. "What's your favorite flower?" "Mine are roses. Very beautiful. I like red roses, but white roses are my favorite." Something about Meredith makes her exceptionally easy to talk to, even if I know nothing about the subject matter. And perhaps it is her welcoming demeanor, or even her ever-inviting smile, or the way she apologizes profusely for icy fingers brushed mine. Regardless, I cannot think of a more pleasant companion to have for my first day at Miss B's. Returning to class, I find myself immersed in a rather uncomfortable activity. Ouch! I press my punctured thumb to my lips. "Are you alright, Miss Graham?" "Yes, I'm fine." Miss B returns to addressing the class. "Upkeep of the ability to hand stitch is essential for any woman entering society. Luckily, none of you have ailments that should significantly impair this ability." I stare dubiously at the lopsided needlework on my lap. Even with some rest, leftover sleepiness and clumsy fingers were doing me no good. "It's alright. Try keeping your fingertips a bit more spread out, like this." Meredith reaches over to gently guide my fingers with her own. She smiles apologetically when I flinch from the cold. "Is it really all that surprising Miss Graham is the one to struggle with this? Needlework requires delicate hands, not those calloused from a countryside life." Miss Belvoir, please try to be tolerant. She's just joined us. Of course, she will need an adjustment period. Virginia sighs and returns to her needlework. Beside her, Winnie is looking at me, but quickly busies herself with the fabric on her lap when she catches my gaze. And done. Already, Miss Fay? Greta holds up her fabric scrap for the class proudly. It is certainly a colorful work. I can't quite tell if the green and red spotted pattern is a bush of roses, an unusual dress design, or perhaps the plumage of a rare breed of bird. It certainly has a lot of character, although you may want to work on cleaning up the edges. They are fraying. Alright. Greta returns to her needle and thread with impressive ferocity. How's everyone else? I will be done in 10 minutes. I'm taking a bit longer than usual. I'm sorry. Don't worry, Winnie. I can help you if you like. I'm also behind, and with little to show for it. I hurriedly return to it, biting my lip when I jab myself once more. Miss B comes up behind me. And you, Miss Graham? She looks over to my lap. I see. Needlework is a new pursuit for you, I take. I'm afraid so. I fixed rib clothes in the past, but that's the extent of my sewing ability. Miss B puts her hand on my shoulder. That is all right. Please do not fret over it. I'm certain that in time you will spend my institution. You will see much improvement. Thank you. I really appreciate that, you know. She smiles warmly before moving on to look at the other students' work. Never at any school have I had an instructor be so sympathetic of learning difficulties. I look down at my work with a smile of my own, despite the fresh bead of blood on the tip of my pointed finger. We all have to start learning something from somewhere. Perhaps I can learn to like this place. I haven't had a cup of tea since arriving, which is an absolute shame. I do love tea. The old continent may as well have had rivers of the drink. It is the lifeblood of the place. Their preferred elixir to dull the sharpened edges of their society. The day I finally go and make myself a cup, I find Meredith with the kettle. Her entire face brightens the moment she sees me. Good afternoon, Lillian. She glances down at my cup. You here for tea as well? I am. In fact, I have not yet had tea since arriving. She reaches out a hand towards my cup. In that case, I will brew some for you. I have been told that I make an excellent milk tea. I sit at the table as Meredith goes to work. After pouring water over the tea in strainer, she adds a splash of milk and drops in a sugar cube, stirring all the while. She takes expert care throughout the process, and as though she were handling something as delicate as cobweb, she brings it over to me with a saucer and a plate of scones. Here you are, your very first cup of tea in the old continent. I hope it is to your liking. I take it gratefully and sip. It is warm and mild, the sugar only an aftertaste once I swallow. I give her my brightest smile. It's delicious. Wow. Oh, I'm so pleased to hear that. The full color returns to her cheeks for a fleeting moment. Then she sits beside me with her own tea. Despite the rich cup she'd brewed for me, hers is completely clear. She drinks it in short, brief sips as I reach for a scone. An idea occurs to me. Meredith is so kind. I wish to do something for her as well. I gesture to the plate of scones after taking my own. Would you like me to prepare you one? I have a preferred way of eating them myself, a cream and marmalade blend. Meredith looks intrigued for a moment, but then she pauses. That sounds lovely, but... She scratches her cheek. Well, it's not that I don't like scones per se. I'm just no longer able to comfortably enjoy them as I used to. Oh, but thank you for the offer. That was awfully sweet of you. I think to ask Meredith what she means, but she moves on to another subject quickly. Must be a sore subject. But enough about me. I wish to hear about your time in the new continent. What is your favorite meal from there? Or site that you visited? But I don't want to interrupt your scone eating. I could tell you about my experiences while you eat. Oh no, it's alright. I'll tell you. Let me just finish this last piece. I pop it into my mouth, brush the crumbs from my hands, and begin to tell her about my experience that comes to mind from my country estate. I talk about the wheat fields that turn verdant to brown with the seasons, the mules that we rented out for carriages and field work on a daily basis, the dogs that I had to hold back from jumping on the milkmaid, and the suppers of char-grilled corn, roasted apples, and cider that I had on my own every evening. Meredith is hanging on to every word. I'm unused to someone giving me their full attention like this, but it is a nice distraction from class and the evenings. Yeah, and it even made me a bit homesick, at least for the place. I cannot say I miss any of the people. Meredith smiles fondly. It sounds divine. I'm certain my siblings would love to visit just as much as me. You have siblings? 2 younger sisters and a younger brother, yes. I haven't seen them in a long time. I miss them. But I'm certain they're doing alright. That sounds sweet. I'm an only child, though. I've always wanted siblings. They were a delight, even if my parents had trouble keeping them in line sometimes. Meredith looks at me with a newfound interest. Lillian, what would you say has been your favorite part of the old continent? I know you've only been here for a bit of time, but surely you've formed some opinions by now. I hum and thought, if I must choose. The people. Honestly, I've enjoyed the company of the people. Miss B has been helpful, and, well, especially you, Meredith. You have been so kind to me. I cannot help but pick you out as something I love about the old continent. Meredith's fingers nearly knock her teacup over. She glances up at me in surprise, and then smiles. Oh, thank you. I suppose I do know what it's like to feel alone after being struck with some kind of unfortunate incident. I try my best to make certain my fellow students and newcomers do not feel alone, as I did. She scratches her cheek again. It is something of a nervous habit with her, but, I find it to be endearing. Either way, I'm glad you're beginning to feel more comfortable here. Students adapt at different speeds, but you seem to be settling. Admittedly, I know little about the other students our age. What are they like? Meredith smiles warmly. Well, the first to come to mind is sweet Winnie. The girl's heart is full of tenderness. She has such a wonderful smile, but she doesn't like to show it. I do wish she would more often. She sighs. I fear that Virginia is ashamed of herself, but she doesn't like intimacy, so it's difficult to help her with her feelings. Oh. Not least to mention, she doesn't think I'm qualified to offer her advice. I believe it would take a very special sort of person to crumble the walls she keeps around herself. As for Greta, her lips twist sideways before she smiles. She's a peculiar sort of girl. There's a lot about her that I do not understand. She seems to enjoy mischief for mischief's sake. Miss B does not protest, though. So you've been here as long as they have? Longer, in fact. I was one of Miss B's first students. Oh, I had no idea. The school was a blessing to me. In fact, Meredith stops herself. She focuses on a small group of students in the hall. Oh, class time again. Perhaps I can tell you more after another day? If you're interested, of course. I would love to hear, yes. Then we must do this again. Meredith gathers up our cups and empties the kettle. She hurries over in time to open the dining room door for me. Oh, how sweet. Thank you. Meredith dips her head. Somehow her smile appears even wider than before. Of course. I very much look forward to our next time we speak. They are usual parting words, but strange and pleasant, with warmth blooms in my chest as she speaks them. Because I know that when said by Meredith, they're sincere. When I retire to my room for the evening, I feel content. Finally, I'm beginning to settle into my new route here. My nights are free from bad dreams. Miss B is kind. The students are relatively interesting, at least. They seem to be willing to interact with me despite my newness. This is also the first evening in which I can take my time preparing for bed, feeling well rested for the first time in many, many weeks. I do not bother with my ritual. I feel as if nothing can shake me now. I'm wrong. When I put on my nightgown, I felt the slightest chill brush my arm. Confused, I glanced to the window, but it is shut. Furthermore, I have not opened the window once since arriving here. The door to my bedroom is also closed. But then another chill runs through me, and another. Even as I pull back my sheets, like the press of a cold iron, something is in the room with me. I'm certain of it. Leave me alone! Rosemary above me swings a bit, and then the chills stop. I lie awake, waiting to see if any more would show, but they faded. Whatever was here seems to have left. Or perhaps not left. I still feel the faint presence of something, somewhere, nearby the foot of my bed, but it can no longer come close to me. I will sleep easy this night, even with the Arabs above my head protecting me. The awful knowledge that something is still haunting me keeps my nerves tender. And I know that no matter how far from my home I travel, or who I meet, or what I use to protect myself, it has no intentions of letting me go. That was fun. I like that. I'm excited to see more. Made in the REMP engine, of course, as is most of the games that I record. You have reached the end of the demo. If you enjoyed it, please consider supporting Miss B's School in the October Kickstarter. Ooh, October. This October, or was that last year? I don't actually know. Probably this year, maybe. So, yeah. I hope you all enjoyed this. Miss Bullard School for Unfortunate Young Ladies. Is that what it was called? Miss Bullard School for Former Ladies. I'm sorry. Former ladies, not unfortunate ladies. Although they all have some unfortunate past, it seems. You know, some people are more willing to share than others. So it'll be interesting to see how the characters develop and all of that jazz. And well, I hope you enjoyed the demo, and want to see more games, make sure to subscribe for more quick looks on other visual novel games, both popular and unknown. I enjoy covering games of all shapes and sizes, from developers big and small. If you have a game you want me to cover on my channel, please send me a message on Twitter or my Gmail if you would like. And with that said, that's the end of the video. And I will see you all next time, and have a good day.